Federal officials have charged two LA-based property developers alleging misuse of $50 million in government funds intended to combat homelessness.
America, the feds just arrested two California real estate executives for stealing millions in homeless housing funds. We're talking about $27 million in taxpayer money that was supposed to help homeless people, but instead went to luxury shopping sprees and Beverly Hills mansions. But here's what's really going to blow your mind about this story. This isn't just two bad actors. This exposes an entire homeless industrial complex where politicians, NGO executives, and developers get rich off of human misery while homeless people literally die on the streets. We're talking about a system designed to keep homelessness high because that's how the money keeps flowing.
"31-year-old Cody Holmes was arrested this morning for allegedly siphoning public funds earmarked to build housing for the homeless."
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This story perfectly illustrates what I've been telling you about government corruption. When you throw billions and billions at problems without oversight, vultures circle and get their piece of the pie. And the people who suffer? The actual homeless folks who need help, and the taxpayers are getting robbed blind. Let me break down the Cody Holmes case because this guy's story is absolutely wild. This is a 31-year-old from Beverly Hills who was the CFO of Shangri-La Industries, a company that got $25.9 million in grant money from the state to build homeless housing.
A company that converts motels into homeless housing is facing a major lawsuit, and now there are new explosive claims made against a former executive.
Inland Empire Bureau Chief Rob McMillan has details behind the lawsuit.
Project Homekey, a state effort to turn old hotels and motels into low-income housing for the homeless.
But here's where it gets absolutely insane. Holmes submitted fake bank records showing that they had $160 million in accounts that didn't even exist. The accounts were completely made up. After they got the homeless money, you know what this fool did? He used over $2 million of it to pay for his American Express bills.
Now, with many of those properties in foreclosure, the developer of those projects is suing their former CFO, Cody Holmes, accusing him of embezzling millions of dollars to fund an extravagant lifestyle for he and his ex-girlfriend, Madeline Witt.
Doctoring up signatures, creating documents, opening up fictitious accounts.
This guy started as an intern in Shangri-La Industries in 2014 and rose to CFO in just 5 years. Think about that, from intern to stealing millions in 5 years.
The lawsuit alleges that unbeknownst to his boss, he was siphoning away millions of dollars for the use of he and his ex-girlfriend.
Now let me tell you what this scumbag was spending homeless money on, because it's going to make your blood boil. He was paying rent on a 6,500 square foot mansion in Beverly Hills. We're talking about homeless people sleeping on the streets while this guy is living in a mansion paid for by their housing money.
Significant portions of the funds he embezzled to purchase exotic cars, expensive real estate, expensive accessories.
But it gets worse, guys. He was buying exotic cars, of course, expensive real estate for sure, and get this, very expensive handbags for his now ex-girlfriend, including Birkin bags. For those of you who don't know, Birkin bags can cost 50 grand to 200 grand each. This guy was buying his girlfriend purses that cost more than most people's annual salary, using money meant for homeless housing.
But while Shangri-La is the plaintiff in this lawsuit, they're the defendants in another lawsuit filed earlier this year by state housing authorities because of what happened.
Meanwhile, Project Homekey tenants are in limbo. These are actual homeless people who were supposed to get housing, but instead they got notices saying they might get evicted because this criminal stole their housing money for luxury shopping sprees.
They gave us notices on our doors saying that we might get evicted.
Residents at Project Homekey properties in Redlands and San Bernardino telling us last month they're worried they could be forced out and end up back on the streets.
But Holmes isn't the only one. Stephen Taylor, 44 years old, from Brentwood, has been running a real estate flipping scheme using fake bank statements since 2019. This cat bought a house for $11.2 million using fraudulent loans, then flipped it to a homeless housing developer for $27 million.
According to LA Times reporters, Stephen Taylor is accused of lying to a lender to buy an $11 million property before selling it 12 days later to a nonprofit for $27 million, all while using state money from the Homekey initiative, a move that prosecutors call a hidden double escrow scheme.
Think about that. He more than doubled his money in 12 days selling to people who were using public funds to buy housing for homeless people. So not only did he commit fraud by buying the property, he then overcharged the government when they tried to help homeless folks.
In a separate case, Cody Holmes, the former CFO of an affordable housing developer, is also being charged, accused of using $2 million in Homekey funds for personal credit card bills and luxury purchases.
Acting U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley called these cases just the beginning, vowing aggressive prosecution of anyone misusing Homekey funds. But here's my question. How did it get so bad in the first place? How do you have systematic fraud across multiple companies and nobody notices? Gavin Newsom. Now here's what really gets me fired up. We had warning signs about this corruption 6 months ago. A federal task force was informed to investigate possible fraud and corruption involving homelessness funds across Southern California. U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley said back then, despite all the money spent and the audits conducted, there are billions and billions of dollars unaccounted for. Local and state officials cannot give us answers.
The most visible crisis across California, now the target of a federal investigation.
We will investigate and look at the facts and determine whether any laws were broken.
Newly sworn in U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley announcing what he calls a homelessness, fraud, and corruption task force.
A recent independent audit found that LA officials could not accurately track down $2.3 billion in spending for homeless services. $2.3 billion just went missing, and nobody can explain where it went.
Into billions of dollars of homeless funding spent across Southern California and possible fraud, abuse, and corruption.
Despite all the money spent and the audits conducted, there's billions of dollars unaccounted for. Local and state officials cannot give us answers.
This is what I've been telling you about the homeless industrial complex. It's just not Cody Holmes getting rich off of government contracts. It's the people inside NGOs, political positions, and development companies who have a vested interest in keeping homelessness high because that's how the money keeps flowing.
A recent independent audit found that LA officials could not accurately track down about $2.3 billion in spending for homeless services.
So one more quick question.
As a result, last week, LA County voted to stop funding LAHSA, leading to the resignation of CEO Dr. Valisa Adams-Kellum.
Think about this. They quote unquote spent $2.3 billion and can't account where it went. Yet homelessness keeps getting worse.
How does $2 billion just go missing?
It doesn't, and we're going to find out where it is.
The number of homeless on the streets is increasing with every dollar we spend.
That, my friends, is the smoke and gun right there. The more money they spend, the worse the problem gets. That is not incompetence. That is by design. When your salary depends on homelessness existing, you have zero, and I mean zero incentive to actually solve the problem. Santa Monica business owner John Alley said it perfectly. It's hidden money and it's paybacks. I believe people will end up in jail. This is a business model built on human misery, where the worse the problem gets, the more money flows to people running the programs.
Along with LA County, the task force will investigate Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties.
They're at about 75,000 homeless people in LA County compared to 20,000 in all other counties combined. That tells you where the money is concentrated and where the corruption is worse. Think about this logically, guys. If you're running a homeless service organization and homelessness goes down, your budgets get cut. If homelessness goes up, you get more funding. What incentive do you have to actually solve the problem? Zero. Mayor Karen Bass responded to the investigation saying, "Our focus is an outcome of saving lives last year." Los Angeles bucked national increase with a 10% decrease in street homelessness. But if there was a 10% decrease, why do you need more money? And why can't you account for $2.3 billion they already spent? Governor Gavin Newsom's office said, "We share the federal administration's goal of ensuring tax monies are being used effectively to get people off the streets." But where was this concern when billions and billions of dollars go missing? Where was the oversight when Cody Holmes was buying Birkin bags with homeless money?
It's a humanitarian crisis. It's a public trust crisis. And and I think we deserve answers.
He says he's going to use any and all tools, including search warrants. It sounds like all this is going to start very soon.
But the politicians don't want to give answers because the answers would expose how they've been getting rich off of human suffering. You want to know how to solve homelessness? Stop making it profitable. When NGO executives are making $300 grand a year to manage homelessness, when developers get rich building affordable housing that costs $700,000 per unit, when politicians get campaign contributions from the homeless industrial complex, you've created a system where solving the problem eliminates the profit. Bill Asaley said he's going to use any and all tools, including search warrants. That is exactly what we need. We need real accountability for people who get rich off of taxpayer money while homeless people die on the streets. The solution isn't more money, it's accountability. Prosecute the criminals like Cody Holmes and Stephen Taylor. Audit every single NGO and development company. Fire the politicians who can't account for billions in spending. And most importantly, stop rewarding failures with more funding. America, the homeless crisis in California isn't a crisis of resources. It's a crisis of corruption. When you have people living in Beverly Hills mansions buying $200,000 purses with money meant for homeless housing, while actual homeless people get eviction notices, that is not incompetence. That is criminal. The homeless industrial complex is exactly that. An industry built on keeping people homeless so the money keeps flowing. NGO executives, developers, and politicians have created a system where solving homelessness would eliminate their paychecks. So they have zero incentive to actually fix anything. Cody Holmes and Stephen Taylor are just the tip of the iceberg. When $2.3 billion goes missing and nobody can explain where it went, when homelessness gets worse despite record spending, when people get rich managing a crisis instead of solving it, you're looking at systematic corruption that goes to the very top. This is why we need federal oversight, criminal prosecutions, and complete transparency in how homeless funds are being spent. The people dying on California streets deserve better than being used as cash cows for corrupt politicians and greedy developers. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.